Aaron, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. How are you getting on? How's it settling in? All right?
Yeah, all good. It's been 3 or 4 weeks now. It was a strange kind of start really, because I met everyone at the airport. So we had an early flight, obviously the pre-season tour. We went to just outside Marbella. And the first time meeting everyone was 4 o'clock in the morning. I was still asleep trying to shake everyone's hand, but no, it's been really good. Really good group of lads, great staff, and obviously I knew a few people before I joined, which always helps settle in. It's been great really.
Obviously the game against Derby was your debut, and I was chatting to loads of different Stoke fans who were at the Warsaw match.
Yeah.
Before the Warsaw match obviously kicked off. And I said, what did you make to the first day? And not blowing smoke, for want of a better phrase, lots of people were very complimentary.
No, really enjoyed the start. Obviously it was the perfect start we want. I missed a few games pre-season, which was really frustrating. As I say, over in Spain I got a little hamstring niggle, which lasted 6 days, but in them 6 days we managed to play 3 games. Which was frustrating from my part, but no, the pre-season's gone really well. Obviously I joined a little bit later than the lads before they started, but no, in the off-season I'd kept myself fit. I'd gone away to Portugal and done a mini pre-season before pre-season started. It was good, and as you say, the start of the season was perfect scenario really. What we wanted, we won a good start, and then in the cup on Tuesday night to go through to the next round. So perfect way to start the season.
It's an interesting one, this, because you come into this group having spent 11 years at West Ham. So when you'd have gone in at West Ham, you'd been a relatively young one, whereas you come in here and you are the one that everyone looks to as the experienced person. What's that like as a dynamic from your own point of view?
Yeah, it's kind of, I speak sometimes now with like Divine, who's just, kind of starting his career off, and there's times where, you reflect and you sit back and you think, where's that time gone? Do you know what I mean? And it just goes so fast, and you want to try and bottle every moment up and open it up when you can, but, the reality is it goes really fast. And going back to, the experience, when I remember joining, West Ham, I think it was 23, relatively young. Joining the Premier League club was a massive eye opener, and you want to help the younger boys now and pass the experience on in any way you can. The one thing I will say, it just goes so fast.
What's it like? Didn't you used to sit next to Divine in the changing room at West Ham?
Yeah. So obviously I've known Divine since he was a young kid. I'll never forget. We've actually spoke about it the other week when he first joined us. I think he must have been 17 at the time on a pre-season tour. And I remember thinking, gosh, who's this kid? Like he's enthusiastic, putting himself about. I remember him, he was coming up against Craig Dawson, who's a big centre half, and I remember him just absolutely flying into him, and I thought, he's got a bit about him, do you know what I mean? And look, it's great to, it didn't quite work out for him at West Ham, and he's obviously signed for Man City, and I'm really looking forward to him, watching him this season. He's got all the attributes, to be a top striker. He's a great lad. He's humble. He's willing to work hard. So he's one that I'm keeping an eye on this year.
Does he call you Whipsy Hustle?
He actually got fined by the lads for that. But I didn't know. It's just his way of complimenting me, I think. But I don't know. I think it's just because I like to try and whip the ball to him a lot. But I'll let him explain that one to you.
I like, is Cresswell the other nickname?
Yeah, I don't know where all his little slang words come from, but no, look, I've got him. I'll keep him under my wing this year and try and bring the best out of him.
Give me some insight then, as a new person coming into the dressing room. Obviously, Stoke fans that watch this will have seen some of the personalities that have come on. So we've seen Million Manhoof, we've seen people like Ben Gibson, Victor Johansson. Who were the ones that talked to you that you didn't know already? Who were the ones?
So as I mentioned before off the camera, was I knew Gibbo before joining, and of course Divine and Favour, but it must be the best thing that happened in terms of joining up with the lads. Obviously I know a lot of the players through watching the games over the years and obviously following football, but the likes of Frank and Vic and them boys, there for every, as soon as someone joins, anything you need, they're the first people to come, and of course Gibbo. I genuinely couldn't have asked for a better group of lads. And after that week in Spain, I felt like I'd I'd been here for a couple of years and, you know, fitted right into the group, and, you know, a lot of their morals, their values is what I stand for as well, and it just kind of aligned, and yeah, it all clicked together, and as I say, I've only been here 4 weeks, but it feels like, you know, a long time already.
Who's impressed you the most so far?
As in players,
yeah, that you've seen on the training pitch, and you're like, oh my.
I think there's a lot of very good players, but I think the main thing is how the team comes together, and, you know, the attitude, the application that we bring every day to training, and look, no individual's bigger than the team, and I think if we can fight for, you know, togetherness, we've spoke about it behind the scenes in terms of our principles and our values of what we want from a team, and I think any successful team needs togetherness. You know, as soon as you cross that white line, you give everything for the shirt and for each other, and then, you know, the same happens on a training ground. You know, we're not mates once we cross over that line, and, you know, we've got to be fighting for each other, pushing for each other. The standards have to be high. So I think if we do that over the course of 46 games, I think that'll take you a lot further than what a talented individual would.
You say that, but Stephen and Zonzi.
Yeah. No, look, I played against Stephen years ago. And funny enough, I think when I scored against Stoke for West Ham, I think he was in the wall. I remember looking at that wall. Ryan was in there as well. I think Johnny Walters might have been in there. But now going back to Stephen, look, he's a fantastic player. You know, I knew that when I played against him, and, you know, I followed his career as well in terms of what he's done in Europe. You know, of course, winning the World Cup speaks for itself. But yeah, he's won. You know, he's just a little bit behind. He's joined a little bit later than us, and yeah, once he's fit and ready to go, he'll be a fantastic signing. A
lot of my Stoke fan friends in the League Lads WhatsApp group, which we mention regularly, they find themselves humming, "Oh, Stephen and Jon." Have you found yourself singing that?
Yeah, well, I've heard a few of the boys singing it already, and look, I can't wait for that time he puts that shirt on, and, you know, he's standing on the touchline ready to come on, or whether he's starting. I think it'd be a fantastic atmosphere, and I'm sure, look, the Stoke fans will be delighted to have him here.
You could have gone to many different clubs. From the outside looking in, you were linked with lots of different clubs that you could have gone to. Why Stoke?
Look, I spoke to Johnny. He was brilliant, and even, you know, before I joined, I come and met the gaffer, and obviously I knew Nev from my time at West Ham, and yeah, it was just the feeling I got straight away. The project that they were, you know, that they were talking, what we want to do as a club, and where they see us in the next, you know, year to 2 years or whatever it is. You know, it was what drew me here, and, you know, since you know, step foot to the training ground, you know, it's still got that Premier League factor. You know, you look at the new facilities now getting built, it's fantastic. The infrastructure's here. You know, the ground's fantastic. It is a Premier League club, and I'm sure one day we'll be back there soon.
How does it work then? Because I was chatting to Victor Johansson when he signed last year, and he said that Jon Walters in particular, when he was having a baby at the time, yeah. Victor Johansson's other half, not Victor Johansson, but Victor Johansson's other half, and he was saying that Johnny Walters was picking the phone up every 2 minutes, checking everything was right with the baby, first congratulating, first to send around a big bouquet of flowers and stuff like that. So you announced you're leaving West Ham, and I imagine your agent's getting all these phone calls. How does it physically work? When do you first find out about it, and who rings you? Who do you ring?
Yeah, look, all the numbers side and all the other bits and bobs is down to the agents, but I can only speak from my side. You know, when Johnny was different class, and again, I was at West Ham. I'd never had to deal with any of this before. But one thing I will say was Johnny was unbelievable with me. You know, in the moments of picking the phone up, keeping me updated. You know, if there was anything I needed or any questions I had, he was ringing me up, texting me, and the same with the gaffer, to be fair, and the coaching staff. They were brilliant and first class with me. You know, from once I met the gaffer and had that first conversation with him, I said to my agent straight away, I just get that feel of, you know, this is where I want to be, this is where I want to play my football, and yeah, here we are.
We hear the phrase they made you feel wanted. What does that mean? Like, practically, is it a case of a text message? What's it like?
Yeah, well, I've never really been in this position myself to talk about experiences before. As I say, I was at a club for so long, but you know, there was my agent rang me and said, look, there's other clubs here, but well, if the other clubs are there, why's the sporting director or the manager not ringing you? And you know, all these things, and you know, putting a presentation on for you. This is what we want, this is how we see it, this is where we want it to go. And as I say, Stoke and Johnny and the gaffer were first class with that. that certainly swayed my decision.
It's interesting you say that, because as a football fan, and obviously people watching this will know what it's like from the outside, but they don't know what it's like to be the experience that you've got. So those things, they do make a difference.
No, it does. It's exactly what you said there. And as I say, I've kind of been fortunate enough to stay at one club, for 11 years. But, you see some players now who move on after, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, and, they're moving from one end of the country to the other. But yeah, I'm forever grateful to be at one club for so long.
Does that sound like stress?
It does, yeah, because I experienced it a little bit this summer, and I don't know how players do it. Do you know what I mean? Like after a year, banged it off again, 2 years, banged it off again, or it could be even a different country, or certainly I think a lot for the foreign lads certainly coming into a new club, say they're moving from abroad to England. You don't realise how much goes into it in terms of with the visas, the setting up the house, if they've got schools, then if they've got 2 kids, they've got to set the schools up, the nurseries, all these little things, setting up cars. And to be fair, we again, it comes down to the player care, helping, and again, Bumble's here, he's been brilliant with me, and yeah, it's just like Johnny, you can, all these things, you want a player to be settled as quickly as possible. The quicker you get that, the better you get them performing on the pitch.
Did you know, out of all the amazing things you've achieved in your career, which will obviously come on in this podcast, that I would argue, you might not even know this, but I would say the greatest achievements of your life so far, did you know you're in the top 3 people listed as the most famous people to come from Hailwood on the town council official website?
No, I didn't have a clue about that.
Yeah. Top 3, you made top
really?
3.
Yeah.
Do you want to know who the other in the top 3 are?
I'm trying to think who the other top 2 would be.
Big name, to be fair.
No.
George Harrison lived there, apparently.
Yeah, I've actually heard that, but I didn't know if that's a fact or if it was a bit.
He beat you, I'm
really?
afraid. Yeah, he was number 1.
Yeah, I think he would have went a long way in beating me.
Steve McMahon, number 2.
Steve McMahon, yeah, he used to play for Liverpool, yeah.
And then
I went to school with his nephew, yeah.
And then you were above famous Olympian Katrina Johnson.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I don't know if she's actually from Hailwood.
Apparently, according to the town council government, this is a government website.
Oh, okay,
Aaron.
well, she
I'm
must
not
be
here
then.
to argue with the government.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, she has got a big portrait in one of the schools there. Is it in one of the schools? I think, yeah, it is.
Big moment for you, that.
No, yeah, it is. I didn't know nothing about that, but no, I'll take it.
What was it like growing up there?
It was tough at times. It's to give you some, for people that don't know, it's a working class background. Yeah, my mum and dad were both taxi drivers. I don't think I've ever really spoke about them that much. But no, look, I loved every minute of it. Yeah, we were always really close to our family. And yeah, all my family is still there now, and I love going back in there and seeing them and driving through the places where I grew up. I've moved a little bit further north now, but yeah, fond memories and one I wouldn't change for anything.
I'm told your dad was a very well-connected man.
Really? Oh, I don't know about that. Connect. Yeah. Well, yeah, I can see it. Why? Yeah.
I like to have 2 or 3 sources if I'm going to mention them on this podcast. I've only got one, but it's a trusted source, and I'm told that he was the go-to person. Just seemed to know everyone. Yeah,
he was one of them. Jack the lad, whatever you want to call him. He was always up to something, always pondering about. But growing up, our door was, like it was never locked, to be honest. Where we grew up wasn't the best of the area, but everyone got on, do you know what I mean, with each other, and our door was just constant. I'd come in, after the youth club, the Boise, it was called, and I'd come in at 6 o'clock. We'd walk in the kitchen, and back then everyone was, obviously my mum and dad were smokers. The house would just be, smoke everywhere, but everyone would be in the kitchen, playing card games, or everyone's joking about, but it's just people constantly coming in and out. And yeah, going back to my dad, I think that was his way of, just that was who he was, and it was brilliant to see growing up.
Your dad and your brother big Liverpool fans?
Yeah, so we, as I say, we grew up Liverpool fans. My little brother recently used to still go to games, even obviously when I was at West Ham. Yeah, he'd still go to games every now and then, but there's a story when I remember it was my wife's brothers. We played Liverpool the first time I was at West Ham, so I got them tickets in the home end, not thinking nothing of it, and they jumped up and celebrated when I think we were 1-0 up, and I think Sterling scored to make it 1-1. But they jumped up celebrating, not thinking where he was or the surroundings, and you know what Upton Park was like back then. And I remember him telling me a story after. He said he just like turned around, there's like 30 fellas just pointing and screaming at them, wanting to kill him, and they like didn't realise where he was. But yeah, no, I think, you know, growing up in Liverpool, football's a massive part of the culture, and we were all Liverpool fans. But my dad's family is kind of divided. He's got one sister and, you know, a lot of brothers, and they're all one half's blue, one half's red. But football was what we knew.
Hailwood Academy?
Yeah.
What was that like? What were you like at school?
Not great, to be honest. Yeah, not great. I love school, and looking back, it's always that thing when you finish, everyone says to you, school's the best days of your life, and you know that's where you have the most memories, and you kind of trying to adjust to life and figure things out. And yeah, it was fantastic. It's been done up now. It's all it's a lot. It's changed a lot, but you know I've still got friends and memories for the rest of my life from there.
Have you been back?
I actually haven't been back for a long time. As I said, I've been in London, and you know it's difficult sometimes getting back home. But you know my little brother's 7 or 8 years younger than me, and obviously he went to that school, and I've been back when he'd gone back there. But yeah, I drive past it every now and then and still see it, and you know them memories come flooding in.
Was it Wood Lane Juniors?
That's where I played. That's where I started. So it was kind of strange. Going back to my dad was, I don't know how we got the contact, because I was just, you know, I used to play in the streets, and I think it must have been about 7 or 8, or maybe a little bit older. My dad just said to me one day, he said, right, I've got you the team and we're starting on Sunday. And I was like, sound, yeah, like, let's go. And I started off like every young kid wanting to score goals. And I went to Wood Lane, a fella called Ian Thompson, who I'm still, you know, in touch with now. He's been unbelievable for the kids in the community, and you know he's Liverpool scout, and you know the things he does now even across Europe is unbelievable. He's one fella who I could look back and gone, he's certainly given me that chance and helped me along the way a lot in many ways. Of, you know, must be the first time now that I've never really told him this, but you know I'd like to think he knows, he understands football, and you know, he's just a great person, and he's someone who had, always have the time of day for. And yeah, I'm trying to explain so his role was, you know, he oversees all the you know, the academy and the Wood Lane Juniors and all this stuff. So he was the one. Sorry, I've lost me trail thought there. He was the one that, you know, set it all up for me. So we get there on the Sunday morning, and yeah, I think I scored 2 goals on my debut for my Sunday league team, and yeah, didn't look back.
Were you playing up front?
I was playing up front, yeah, and then obviously signed for them, and then fast forward, you know, a couple of years later, I ended up going for trials. I think it was Man City. Didn't get in there. Went to Everton on like a 12-week trial. Didn't get in there. Again, I just for the love of the game, I just kept playing. And you know, it was hard leaving Everton, because I think we thought we were going to stay because we were there so long on trial, and then went into Liverpool at the age of 12 and stayed there for 2 years.
I don't want to talk too much about Liverpool because you've spoken about it quite extensively, and I suppose the question I wanted to ask you about it, if this is okay, is the fact that it was your dad, wasn't it, who told you you're not going to be staying on at Liverpool?
Yeah, it was a hard. Because again, we grew up Liverpool fans, and you know, once you get into that bubble at that age, 12, you know, you don't really understand, you know, the process of it all or how things work out. And I just remember, you know, my dad saying to me, right, I think it was 14 or 15, I'd been there 2 years, 3 years, and he just said, look, you're not going to be going back. And I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, why? I play for Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's going on? And I just remember used to get all like the free, you know, the training gear and all the travel stuff, the tracksuits, and you know, I'd go home and I'd put them on in the garden, and I'd still feel like, do you know what I mean? It was just that, I don't know, it was a strange feeling. And then he just said, right, well, you know, you're not going to be going back there. You know, it just hasn't worked out. I forget what he said at the time, but I just remember him saying, but you know, we're going to go back to Wood Lane and we're going to enjoy it again. And I was like, yeah, what else can we do? Do you know what I mean? So I think looking back on that moment and reflecting, and I could have easily, you know, kind of just give up and just gone, football's not for me, because I was at that age of like 14, 15, And that's a vital age in terms of, because if you look at it a year later, at 16, 17, you're starting your YTS. And it was only for him to say, right, well, we're going to go back and play Wood Lane and you're going to enjoy your football. That's the main thing. That's like any parent. I've got kids now, and all I think of, I just want them to enjoy themselves, regardless of what happens. So that's what I've done. I went back to Wood Lane, played again Sunday League with me mates and my friends, and then Tranmere come calling. So I went to do a 6 weeks trial, and I think it was after about 4 weeks I ended up signing for that year, and then got me scholarship. So it was just like again falling back to it. I think one thing I will say is that resilience to not give up, which I think it's a shame, because you hear about stories with different backgrounds, and if I didn't have that father figure, you could say, or that one person to lean on to say, no, well, let's just get back to enjoying football. You're still going to play, just not at a professional club. And then one thing leads to the next, and before I know it, I was doing my YTS at Tranmere.
We'll come on to Tranmere in a second. I've just got two questions. As a father now and as a dad, how difficult do you think it was for your dad to break that news to you?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it's, I don't know how you break that to a 15-year-old, 14-year-old, Liverpool fan at the time, who's playing for his boyhood club who he supports, without going into too much detail or without offsetting me. So I think if I was to do that now with my kids, and if they were ever in that position, I think I'd do the same thing. I'd say, look, well, that door's closed, that one's open. Let's enjoy football. Like, that's, even at that age, I didn't know I was going to be a professional footballer. I was just doing it for the pure love and the free Liverpool gear and that side of it. Do you know what I mean? That's what they're the things that stick out with me now. And yeah, I remember.
But for himself to put his own disappointments aside, because if he's a taxi driver, he's meeting hundreds of people a week, and he's probably told them all that his son plays for
100%, because I still get it now, and like, he's still a taxi driver now. My dad will never change. Even if he was to win the lottery tomorrow, he'd still be a taxi driver the next day. But there's so many people I meet in Liverpool, and like, your dad picked me up last week, or your dad was telling, you know what I mean? So I think it, but I've got all my uncles as well, they're the same. So the amount of people, like, from all my uncles and my family, majority of them are just on the taxis. So the amount of people that come to me and go, your dad picked me up, do you know what I mean? And it's, your uncle or whatever.
But for him to put his disappointment aside and say, no, if you put yourself in that position now as a father and say no, because he's never done it before, you don't know how you're going to react. Yeah. So that could have gone completely opposite way, and you could have been driving taxis now or doing whatever. But it's such a massive responsibility that you don't really appreciate until your dad.
No, and I don't, and I've never really had this conversation with me dad, to be honest, in terms of reflecting and looking back and going, dad, remember that moment? That's just my take on it. So it'd be interesting to see his take, what it like, if he watches this, or if it tops up and we have that conversation. But yeah, look, I think that's most probably the best. But I think also because I've gone to Man City, Everton, Liverpool, I'd had them knockbacks, and I think, he most probably understood it better than me. Obviously, he was my father. He was older. He understood it more. So he most probably knew how to deal with the next one after the previous two. So I think that most probably helped him as well, to get that experience of, right, how do we deal with this? And that's what it was. But the one thing I will say is, I think, it falls back to even my parents, how hard working they was. My mum, my dad, like, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, but there was always, we always had everything, like, food, clothes, like holidays, like, it was all, through their hard work. And again, I've never had these conversations with them, but, reflecting on them values of what they are, I'd still like to think I've got them now, in terms of, it doesn't matter where you've been, what you've achieved, it's about hard work and, the right attitude. And yeah, I think them values are incredible.
1st of November 2008, why is that date important? Pop quiz for you, Aaron, go.
MK Dons away.
Correct.
7,500 there. And I don't know if I can say this, but I was myself.
Yeah. Ronnie Moore, the manager?
Ronnie Moore was the manager. I remember it clear as day. I'll tell you everything about the day. We travelled on the day, obviously. MK Dons from Tranmere is a good 3.5, 4 hours. It was everything. It was all a new experience to me, and I remember absolutely. Yeah, as I say, I was really nervous before the game, because making your start, you just want to do well, and I remember my dad coming down, following us, and we got beat 1-0, but I managed to get man of the match, and what an experience it was, because MK Dons had not long opened the new stadium, I think, so it was this lovely big fancy stadium, and I was
still
like,
nice
wow.
now.
No, it's an incredible stadium. I think it's a mini Emirates. I think I've got that wrong. Anyway, it was at such a lovely stadium. The pitch was incredible, and I don't think anyone forgets the debut, and it was such a great feeling.
Can you tell me the Stoke City connection for your debut game?
Debut game? Danny Ingham.
No, who else was playing in that team, Stoke City connection?
In Tranmere's team?
Yeah, on your debut. In fact, if you want to pause the podcast and shout the answer at your phone, or if you're watching this on YouTube, shout it at the screen now.
I'm struggling here.
Ryan Shotton.
Yeah, of course, shots, bloody hell, yeah. He was another one. He was a big lad, and he was some talent. And you knew straight away. I think he only come for us 1 year, I think it was. And he played right back a lot. But yeah, he went on to play for Stoke quite a lot, I think.
I've spoken to someone who played alongside you in that debut game, and they sent a little message.
In that game?
Do you want to hear it?
Can I guess who it is?
No.
Before you think...
No, don't ruin it.
Go on then.
So I said, we're going to be doing this podcast with Aaron Cresswell, the new Stoke City signing. Do you mind sending a little message? And he said, in fact, I won't tell you what he says. I'll just play you exactly what he says. This is here. Where are we?
I'm a little bit nervous here.
Good, you should be.
Yeah. Oh, God.
This is as soon as I start talking, but here goes.
Oh, Ben Chorley.
First met Chris.
Oh, here we go.
2007, when I signed for Tranmere. I was only a young lad. I just remember this little skinny kid of hair I've never seen.
There's a shock.
Happy-go-lucky, smiley, chirpy. I was a first team player. He was a YTS. We used to do 11v11 Tuesdays, Thursdays and Fridays. Old school manager, Ronnie Moore. And he would come over and play left back. As soon as he got the ball, he wanted to smash diagonal balls and whip one down the line outside of his left foot, show everyone what he could do. And to my surprise, just wanted to rattle people, like really, really smash, whether it was Chris Schuker or Ian Moore, experienced wingers. Relationships started to develop. He started to pick me up in the morning. I had a problem with my car, etc. And he was driving past one morning, so I shouted him. And from then, for I think a year and a half, he took me into training every day. And my aim at that point was to try and have a chat with him and calm him down a little bit and tell him that you have to defend as well as attack and to change his barber.
There we go.
Honestly, it was a big fluffy ball of a Lego man. And eventually I made him change that barber to the same one as me. And the style of hair you see him have today with the slick across pale cream side.
Here we go.
Started back then in 2008. So I want to take a bit of credit for that. Top family. And Stoke have got a proper man, proper player that will help the changing room, will help the young lads. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes. Chris, if you're listening, make sure you get a good barber's local to Stoke. Take care.
Yeah, no, look, what a fella. Honestly, he's even the stuff there, what he's touched on, it was like, he's someone I looked up to, in that dressing room. And as I say, the car journeys, I used to pick him up. He used to live on the docks, and it was a tunnel to get through. I used to pick him up, and we'd drive through, and we'd have these chats. But he was someone who, who I looked up to and wanted to follow the way he conducted himself. And I still speak to him now. So as soon as I heard that voice, I knew straight away, and I knew he'd come for me Barney. He's got no right to talk about my Barney with his Barney. But no, look, what a fella. I think it's just like the little things that, what we touched on before in terms of values and, passing that experience on. He's someone, as I said to you, that I looked up to, and just all the little things, how to conduct yourself, how to be a professional footballer. And when I was younger, coming through, I was raw. I didn't know what was right, what was wrong, and I was just a tackle. It was just, I used to try and smash people and jump into tackles, and because I thought that was the right way. But as Cho says there, he understands it, and we've all been young, and you want to help the next generation coming through, or right, this is how you conduct yourself. I know you want to do it this way, but this way is better for you, or yeah, just all the little things. And thinking about that, I don't think he ever used to. I was on 50 quid a week as a YTS, and I'm sure I had a Ford KA and a Ford Fiesta, my second car.
He did say it was a blue Fiesta.
And I don't think he gave me any petrol money, so I'll still bring that up, and I don't think I forgot it, Joe. So if you're watching, you can send me that 50 quid.
He's definitely watching. just to see if his message gets used.
Yeah, that's what it will be. But no, what a fella, and still speak to him now.
I found a fanzine from 2010 called Total Tranmere, talking about you coming through, and they say some really nice things.
You've done some digging on you. Fair play to you.
I always think, I really worry for I've got 2 girls, and when they first bring that boyfriend home, I'm going to know everything about that boyfriend.
Yeah, 100%.
And it says in this Total Tranmere that, I've got it verbatim if you like, it says, put in a hugely impressive performance on his debut, went on to make 14 appearances in the first team, 17 during the 2009-2010 campaign. If it all goes to plan, he could have a good career at Tranmere.
Wow. What year was that?
2010.
15 years ago, yeah. So you're going back to what we started it off with, it's just, it goes so fast. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I think football as well, it's so unpredictable at times where, you know, you want to impress, but you have another game the next week to do it all over again. So the one thing, if anyone's watching, or any young footballers, you know, if there's one thing I can say is never get too high and never get too low. I said, because football can come back to bite you, and it can change so fast. So, of course, take the highs when they come, but be prepared when the lows come, because there's not one footballer out there, maybe Messi, who hasn't had a low. So, yeah, never get too high, never get too low.
You left Tranmere on a free and went over to Ipswich.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get into your mind of what that's like, because you must be coming through at Tranmere. Obviously, there's a bit of hype around you, and now you're playing and stuff like that. There must have been a lot of pressure for you to stay or sign another deal, but then to get in your car, your Ford Fiesta, which I imagine it still was, and drive to the other end of the country, which I imagine is probably the furthest journey you've done at this time in your life. What's that like?
That was most probably the hardest thing to deal with, that, you know, before I'd left, and then having to go to a tribunal and sit in the middle, because I was so grateful for Tranmere, for everything the platform they give me. And then I'd already signed at Ipswich, but the tribunal was months after. So for me, it was really difficult. But I don't know if it's changed now. You know, you're talking 15 years ago. I was in the middle of them 2 clubs. Of course, I just signed for Ipswich, and I just left Tranmere, and I didn't want to, you know, upset anyone. So no, I can't really remember what happened now. We had to go into the room, and they sorted it all out in the end anyway. But you know, setting off, going down that A14 was really tough. But I remember the first conversation. I remember telling my mum, and I don't know if she cried for joy or cried for like, oh God, that's so far away. And yeah, looking back now, it was just a whirlwind of madness, because I'd never lived away from home. I didn't know how to cook, didn't know how to clean, didn't know how to run an apartment, didn't know how to, just life. I didn't know, again, going back to a young lad, you know, you figure all these things out. And I remember finding it so hard the first couple of weeks moving down there, because it was, you know, it wasn't close to Liverpool. It was a 4 or 5 hour journey. But again, that resilience to stick with it, make it work. And, you know, my wife, who I'm still with now, she come down with me at the time. That was 15 years ago. And again, looking back without realising, we had each other, no one else. And it was just us down there. And she couldn't cook at the time. I couldn't cook. We used to have this little Italian over the road. I don't think I've ever told this story, by the way. And every night I'd be in there. It was £5 for the spag bowl. So that was me meal of a night time. I'd managed to get by at the training ground. And the best thing about it, I think if you'd ordered 2, you got like a bit of discount. The fella thought I was a student, so I just went along with it. Yeah, I'm down here as a student, so I think I get it for £8 for 2. So me and the missus would go in there. Literally, honest, it was about 4 or 5 nights a week. That was me meal, spag bowl, because I knew nothing about nutrition. I knew nothing. I just thought, pasta's good for you, like that. You know what I mean? One of them. And it was only, I think it was about 6 months later, I went in there with Michael Chopra, because he was Ipswich's main man at the time. And the fella's looking at me like, I thought you were a student, do you know what I mean? And I stood there eating my food with Michael Chopra, but no, I managed to get 6 months of discount. But no, look, going back, it was such an eye-opener, and, you know, a crazy experience to start my life and understand, you know, what life's about and how you conduct yourself with the whole bill situation, and you know, all that side of it was hard, and again we made it work.
The reason why I set this up is because that's hard enough to move away from home for the first time, to go to the other side of the country, completely different place, different way of life, all this stuff, to walk into a changing room that contains Jimmy Bullard.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got so many stories about him, but I don't think I can say half of them. But no, he was another character who, I think he was there for a year. I was actually talking about him to one of the lads the other day, and he was just, you just didn't know what you were getting with him every day. But ability-wise as a player, he was incredible. And he kind of come to Ipswich on the back end of his career, and you know, he'd had a lot of injuries, but as a character, you won't come across many better than him.
My favourite quote about you joining Ipswich from Tranmere was given by Paul Jewell to the local BBC station called BBC Radio Suffolk. And he said, he might not be a player to get people off their seats, but he's a decent player.
Yeah.
What a ringing endorsement.
No, look, it was, I remember, obviously, again, I'm grateful, you know, for everything he's done for me in terms of giving me that platform to kick on and go again. And again, going back to it in terms of, you know, you're saying about how do you pick. I remember him, you know, being on the phone and saying, listen, you've got nothing to worry about, I'll take care of you, all this stuff. Because, you know, as I say, it wasn't easy to move away, and, you know, my family had, you know, their jobs and their ship to run type of thing. So they couldn't just, you know, up they go and move down with me. And to be fair to him, he really helped me on and off the pitch.
You missed 6 league games in 3 years while you were there. That must have been disappointing to miss those 6.
Yeah. Do you know what? I tried to carry that on when I went to West Ham as well. I don't know if you got the stats there. You seem to have every other stat. But my first year at West Ham, I think I played every minute of every game.
Player of the year?
Yeah, in my first year. And then I think I missed one in the second year. But then, you know, age starts to kick in at 26, 27. And, you know, you're not so young anymore. But no, I've been fortunate enough to, you know, touch wood, not have many big injuries, you know, in my career, and miss many games.
Did you realise when you first went to West Ham just how big of a club it is?
I actually didn't understand it in the size it actually was. I remember playing there for Ipswich the year before at Upton Park, and we beat them 1-0 away. And I remember thinking, right, this is the ground. Obviously, West Ham's got a lot of history, and, you know, from the outside looking in, I was like, yeah, it's a big club. But once you're in it, you know, once you're living in East London and you understand the people and what they stand for, and yeah, I think, you know, some of the players who've come through over the years speaks for itself, and it was such a fantastic club to play for.
I think one of the things that reminds me a lot about West Ham, similar to Stoke, is that if you're a Stoke fan, you're very passionately a Stoke fan. I was on the flight back from Menorca the other day, and I saw 3 people. There was no other football shirts on the flight, but 3 people wearing the new away kit. And it's a bit like West Ham. If you see people with West Ham tattoos, you see people with Stoke tattoos.
Do you know, you say that about a tattoo, sorry to jump in. I've got a picture on my phone. So when I said to you I went to Portugal, on a mini pre-season before pre-season started, because I didn't know exactly where I was going to be. I'm stood, I kid you not, I just got off the phone to my agent, and he's saying about Stoke and a couple of other clubs and whatnot, and I'm stood there having a conversation. As I look down, I'm stood in the queue in the airport to passport control. There's a Stoke City big massive tattoo on the side of his leg, and I said to my mate who was with Tom Owens, who come with me, I was like, that's a sign. That's fate.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
We've got to find that person.
I'll show you the picture on my phone. And it was like, so whoever's that Stoke City fan, if you were in Portugal airport I'll get you the dates. I'll find the date so you can put it up. But that was kind of like, everything happens for a reason. Do you know what I mean? And me and my mate were like laughing about it. I'd literally just got off the phone to my agent, and I'm stood in the queue, and there's a fella right in front of me with a big massive Stoke City badge on the side of his leg. So I'll show you the tattoo.
Yeah,
maybe you can put it up and find out who it is. So that was the reason I signed for Stoke.
And reunite you with him.
Yeah. So mad story, yeah. So talking of that, yeah.
That is that. I'm going to make that.
I'll dig the photo out.
You know I'm going to make that man.
Yeah, 100%. I know you will. You'll find him.
I will. He'll be here next time you come in. He'll be like, come on, welcome. You went on to obviously play every game in that first season, and you go into a club, I imagine you want to make a really big, strong impact. So to go in and be as consistent as you were, that must have been the perfect start.
Yeah, it was, and I kind of found it a bit obviously strange, again, going back to leaving West Ham after 11 years and figuring myself, right, how does this all come together, and and it's at the end of the day, it was just, don't change anything, do you know what I mean? Just be true to who you are, and everything else will take care of itself, do you know what I mean? So it was like, well, my values, my attitude, my standards, all these little things, whether someone agrees with it or not, I'm not going to change them. You're either, this is who I am, and that's what I've done my whole career. I won't change it for no one. So spending time with the lads in Spain, and you get to understand what their values are, what their attitudes are like, and everything was aligned, and I was like, this is perfect. Because then you've got 6, 7, 8 of the lads all pushing in the same direction of the standards, of the professionalism, and that's where you want to be. Going back to it is, if this club wants to succeed, or any club, if you ain't got that core of the dressing room of, the right attitude, the mentality of the togetherness, the team comes first before everyone, you won't succeed. You might win games along the way, but you won't succeed as where the club wants to be. And for me, that's where we've got to be at this season. Look, we're not going to win every game, but if we carry them values, them attitudes, we'll be successful this season.
You've spoken about your work with Big Sam extensively, quite a lot. So I don't want to make you go over old stories. And if people want to hear those stories, there's 1,000,001 of them floating around the internet. The name I want to talk is Slaven Bilic. What were they like?
Again, going back to, I've worked with every different type of manager. And Slaven was another one. He'd obviously played for West Ham. He was like kind of one of the lads, but also tactically and a very good man manager. And we had an incredible year. So there was a lot of pressure on his shoulders. The last year at the Bowling, Upton Park he was the manager. So going back to the size of the club, the history of the club, we didn't want to be the ones going out on a bad note or finishing 16th or 15th or not performing at Upton Park. And I think that year we only lost 3 games at home out of 18, 19 games. So it's like, some of the teams we beat there, Chelsea, Man City, I think beat Liverpool that year, or might have been, we beat Liverpool away, sorry. But all the big clubs that come there, we turn them over. And, we played Man United the last ever game. And I remember you could see the passion in Slaven's, face before it, because everyone felt the pressure. This is the last ever game. The lights are going off. The stadium's going to get knocked down. We want to be the ones going out and, performing and finishing on a good note. And the night was just, it still gives me goosebumps now thinking about it. It was just that the atmosphere was incredible. And, you're looking in the crowd and you're seeing 50, 60-year-old fellas crying their eyes out because, this is all they've ever been. But what a night. We won the game 3-2 and I think the game ended up kicking off about 9:30 at night because it just got delayed. I remember, getting close to the stadium and it felt like there was 1 million people outside the stadium. And yeah, I think he ended up, getting back in about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because everyone just stayed behind and didn't want to leave. But going back to Slav, he was such a great manager.
Do you remember the first time you saw Declan Rice?
Yeah. I remember the first game I played with him. We played at Reuben Kazan in a pre-season friendly. Dex must have been 16 maybe. And again, instantly, it's very rare you see with them kids who come through and you go, wow, he's got something about him, or he's gonna have a right good chance. And we played Reuben Kazan in a pre-season friendly, and Dex give one away for the goal. And normally that as a 16-year-old kid on his first pre-season tour with the first team, normally would go in a shell or don't give me the ball, and he was the total opposite. And I was like, he's got a bit about him, do you know what I mean? But you don't need me to sit here and say, how good of a player he is, and, as a fella, he's even better. I still speak to him, daily, weekly, all the time. And again, we've had some fantastic memories on and off the pitch, and yeah, fantastic.
Was he always a good rapper?
Well, that's another thing. He loves all that side of it, do you know what I mean? In terms of all this rice baby, all that stuff. But he's again, that's his character and that's who he is, and I wouldn't want him to change for anyone.
The reason why I asked that question is at the time of recording, there's a viral video going around the internet. Is it the Arsenal kit launch?
Do you know what? I'll be deadly honest. watched it on Instagram and I turned it off because I seen him rap and I thought I can't listen to this anymore. So he's watching this. I'll be like, nah,
it's not for me.
No, I'm not watching it.
It's not for me.
But yeah, I have seen it.
November is usually quite a good month for you, isn't it?
For
you personally, it's like some big milestones in your life have happened in November. What happened on the 15th of November, 2016?
15th, first Premier League goal, was it? No?
England.
Oh, God, yeah. Bloody hell. Here's me going back to West Ham. Because we were on the topic of West Ham, I thought it was at
That's the
first
thing, they're taking
goal.
in all these different ways.
No, yeah,
Aaron.
that was at a... So the mad thing about that was, I'd heard little whispers of, potentially, because Big Sam was before Southgate, and obviously I had him at West Ham and all this, and then he was talking about it and whatnot. You kind of just, if it happens, one of them. That pre-season, I done my knee. Went in for a tackle pre-season, damaged my MCL and was out for like 2 or 3 months, or it might have been longer, 3 or 4 months. So my first game, I come back against Crystal Palace away and I set the winner up. We won the game 1-0 and all this, and perfect start to come back. Managed to play the next 3 games ahead of it after that. And I remember sitting in my room in the house where I lived in Essex, and I get a phone call. I was literally playing FIFA. I know everyone has this story of where was you when you got the phone call and all that, to say, right, you're going to go for England. And I was like, it was like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I was like, what? Like, I couldn't understand what was going on.
Who was it?
So I think it was Andrew Pincher, the guy who worked for West Ham, and then obviously Southgate calls and stuff like that. And then it was literally within half an hour, I swear to God, I was packed my bags and I was up to St George's Park, and that was it. I was like, wow, where am I? Like, it was just happened so fast, because I don't know if it was Danny Rose at the time got injured, or someone got injured and went home, so then I was the next in line.
You came on for Danny Rose when you played.
Sorry, so it must have been, I forget who it was now at the time. And then we played Spain. I think it was on I don't know if it was a Saturday game or a Tuesday night, and it was such a, it's one of them moments where you think, this is the pinnacle. This is like the chances of someone like me, who I didn't ever, again, you have dreams, but that kind of goes past it, if that makes sense. I'd never ever once think, I'm going to, play for England at some point, because if you look at the stats on it, I think there's most probably only 1,200 people since England have started playing games who've played for England in the last 120 years, or whatever the number is. So to be one of them is still something, that I'm really proud of. And to have my granddad down there, my mum, my dad, my brother, all my friends, family, was everyone, was special. And one that I'll never forget.
As a dad now, do you think what that must have been like for your parents, seeing everything that you've gone through, knowing that it could have gone either way, all the hours that they put in to make sure you could go to these trains, to take those sessions, those weeks where you thought it was going to work, it wasn't going to work? Have you thought what it'd be like for them? Again,
I've never really had these conversations with them, but all the stuff you said there gives you goosebumps, and you think like, all that is a sign of, the resilience, the hard work, my dad taking me in, my dad taking me there, my mum taking me, whatever, and just making it work, and not giving up on the dream, what I didn't think was possible to even make. So yeah, for them it must have been, because I've got kids now, and I understand the feelings of things, and yeah, that must have been a proud moment for them to watch the lad, play for England and represent England. And I was fortunate enough to do it 3 times, and yeah, it's an incredibly proud moment.
Because you think about, taxi drivers are a hard job, and the hours they must put in, and the times where they're just like, I can't be bothered to take him there again.
Yeah, 100%. I've been there now. My little boy, he trains twice a week, and the drive's half an hour from my house, and it's like exactly what you said. You're like, oh. But then I actually sit there and think, if I ever have that, when I look at my dad, I'm finishing training, I'm home at 3 o'clock, whatever. He's been working from 9 at night till 4 in the morning to get up to have 4 hours sleep, to then take me training on a Sunday morning or a game on a Sunday morning. And I'm like, nah. So there won't be a moment I won't reflect and go, I can't bother today. Do you want to just leave it, boy? Do you know what I mean? Like, we won't go today. And I'll be like, no. It's like, because then I'll be doing discredit to my dad, who's done it for me.
I didn't want to say that.
No, 100%, yeah, and I'm with you on it. So I think if there's any parents watching, and you ever have that moment of, tonight won't count, or just have a week off, like, look, everyone's, has a tough, time, and it's challenging at times, but you just never know, and when that moment or that time can happen. So never say never if you can.
Pop quiz time again. What's the Stoke City link between France 3, England 2? Was it that way around? Your third appearance, was it third or second?
Yeah, when we played in Stade de France, I think it was.
Can you tell me the Stoke City link, please?
Kurt Zouma, was he in there?
Who was alongside you on the England bench? He played for Middlesbrough at the time.
Middlesbrough.
He's now a teammate.
Oh, Gibbo. Oh, of course. Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking a totally different one. Yeah. So another, I don't know if, I think me and Gibbo were laughing about this on the first day I joined. So obviously I didn't know Gibbo before. Obviously I played against him over the years, but we were in that summer camp was in the June, obviously pre-season, Premier League's finished, whatever. You get called up, you go away, but we went to a army camp down in Exeter. It was part of Southgate's new thing, and we went there for two nights, 3 days, and it was just literally, you're a Marine for these 2 or 3 days. Everything we do, forget, there was no cameras, there was no like people following you about, there was no nothing, and you had some high profile players, do you know what I mean?
Ben Gibson.
Yeah, Ben Gibson. So anyway, that night we'd been out doing all the runs, your 25-mile hike, whatever it is, and all the assault courses, everything else, and paintballing and whatnot. But we got given rations, and you had to go walk whatever, God knows how far it was, and you got given it wasn't even a tent, it was just like a piece of plastic or whatever it was. You put your sleeping bag underneath it, you have to hook it onto the trees, but you have to get in pairs. Obviously I didn't really know anyone, Gibbo didn't really know anyone, and before we know it, me and Gibbo are cuddling up underneath this little tree playing for England, you know what I mean? And before you know it, you're in the middle of nowhere in this woods, you're sleeping in a sleeping bag, freezing cold. But no, it was an incredible experience, and if you ever ask Gibbo about it, he'll tell you the same thing.
I bet you would have given anything to go back to Ipswich and had that spaghetti bolognese.
Exactly that. Get me in that Italian for the spag bol, yeah. But no, it was all part of the the team bonding, and I don't think Southgate had been in there that long, I think. But it was a great way, and we had 2 or 3 days there, but then it was the Champions League final that night, I think, and we watched this, so all us and the Marines all mingled, and we were all on the beers, we were all having a drink together. It was incredible, because what them guys do is, my hat goes off to them, and incredible, what they are and what they do for this country. So we had all these professional footballers and all these Marines and people in the army and everything else all connected, and everyone just come together and was talking about their stories, their upbringings, and it was just it was a great thing to be part of.
Wasn't Mbappe playing for France that night?
Yeah, so I come on the last 15 minutes, and I remember my little brother always, was it my mate who talks about it all the time, Mbappe must have been about 17 at the time, and I remember thinking he'd done this little skill on me in the corner. I was thinking, who's this kid, do you know what I mean? And then, before you know it, he's one of the best players in the world now.
Are you one of those people that would swap shirts?
Yeah, I've actually got some really good ones over the years.
Go on.
You're going to ask, aren't you?
No, because we don't ask cliche questions. So if you want to offer that information, you can, but let the record say I didn't ask that question.
No, that's fine. Yeah. So the best one I've most probably got, I'd have to say Wayne Rooney. For obviously he grew up in Liverpool, and again, you don't need me to tell you how good of a player he was. But yeah, I've managed to collect a few good ones over the years. Zlatan, I've got his. Ronaldo's when we played against United, and the toughest opponent is Hazard, and I've managed to get his, which I was so glad I'd never. When he left for Real Madrid, I was thinking, thank God for that, because on his day he was something special.
Take me back to the summer of 2019. You were in Cheshire. Why was that special?
Wedding. Yeah. Good job I didn't forget that one. Good job you said
what we would have
Cheshire.
done, for the purpose of the recording, we would have paused it, and then you could have said, we'd have edited together. It would have sounded perfect.
No, I won't forget that. Yeah. It was a
child of sweethearts then?
Yeah. So we've been together since we, really young, 18. And as I say, all the, coming to Ipswich, doing all that, and then moving to West Ham, and before we know it, we're married, we've got 2 kids, and that's like kind of a full circle moment now, and we moved back home, happily settled. And again, I think it's that support. You don't realise it in the moment, but if it wasn't for her, I certainly believe, I wouldn't be where I am, in terms of, if you can easily not go off the rails, but you know what I mean, in terms of, you get distractions elsewhere, you stay on a PlayStation till 3 a.m, you do these things, you go out on a weekend or whatever. I think it's vital for any player to perform on a pitch, if they're settled at home, they're in a happy, good place, and she certainly brought that for me.
How did you meet?
So it's a mad story, really. So it was a friend from school who knew one of her friends at the time. And then, remember MySpace?
Yeah, I was going to say, was it MySpace?
So I was
going to say, is it Bebo or MySpace?
So that was the first point of contact, I think, was MySpace. And then before you know it, I think I was driving, of course I was driving at the time. And managed to pick it up, and then before we know it, 15 years has passed, and we got 2 kids and married, and crazy.
For the younger listeners, MySpace was a bit like Facebook before Facebook, but you used to have a landing page, and it used to play. What was your song on MySpace? Do you remember?
Oh God, I can't remember the song now. But I remember you used to have the. You put your top friends in it, and you could change the order and all this stuff.
Did she go in at top?
So that's what. Well, I'd like to think I did, but if I didn't, she'd certainly let me know. Because you used to put your top. I don't know, was it top 5 or your top 10 friends, or you put your girlfriend at the top, and then your best mate on the whatever. But
for millennials, this is great chat.
Yeah,
I'm really into
so
this.
that trip down memory lane, I think.
So summer of 2019, Peckforton Castle.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. How can I come into this? So Declan Rice is obviously a fantastic rapper.
Yeah.
I understand that he's not just the only one that's a footballer that's good at singing.
Singing?
Yeah. Am I right in thinking you performed at your wedding?
No. Me? No chance.
I was told.
I'd be the last person you'd ever see on a mic.
I was told.
I don't mind a little karaoke every now and then if in the right place and the right time, but no. The only thing I'd done, because I used to learn the piano, but I didn't perform for everyone. So there was obviously a piano in there, and before, when the room's all set up, I went in there. So I don't know if there's been a bit of a crossover. So that'll be the link. So I performed on a piano, but not for everyone, just for, I think, me missus and the wedding planner was in there or whatnot.
Was it All of Me?
All of Me, John Legend, yeah. That's the only thing I could play. So I got lessons years ago, and I'm gutted I didn't stick with it now. And the fella was like, yeah, you need to, do this and read music. And all I wanted to do was just be able to play a few songs, you know what I mean? Just if you see a piano, right, you jump on it. And then in the end, I give up on it. And but I learned the All of Me, yeah. And I forgot it now, so it's pointless.
I was panicking. I thought my research...
No. It was good research, but yeah, I didn't perform. I didn't get on the mic, no chance.
There's a photograph of you performing that.
Is there? Well, there you go then. I tell you what, you've got some spies on you.
The last thing on wedding-related chat, did Gabrielle perform at your wedding?
Yeah, so we... the wedding planner we had was fantastic.
Katie,
yeah. And... leading up to it, we wanted to try and get someone to perform and whatnot. And I used to love Gabrielle when I was younger, if stemmed from my mum. So I didn't tell anyone that we were having Gabrielle on the night. So there's a picture of me, my mum, and Jess, my wife, stood there, but my mum's literally sobbing. She can't believe Gabrielle's there, do you know what I mean? But no, look, it was a fantastic night, and what I can remember it. I'll tell you a little funny story as well. So it got to, it must have been, 3 or 4 in the morning, and we went down to like the wine cellar bit, whatever, and I actually got refused a drink at the bar. So I went up to get a drink, being a man, I'd paid for the bar, and the fella went to me, no, you can't have a drink. What do you mean? He went, you're too drunk. So the only man I think to ever get refused a drink on his own wedding. But it was amazing.
Was Dreams your first? Did she sing Dreams?
Yeah, so that was our first dance. Yeah, and again, it was something we still talk about it all the time now. And
what a minute story that
it was. It just felt right, and the lyrics in the song, and it was a dream because we didn't even both of us growing up. The things football's given us. and to have all our family in one room, getting married and having Gabrielle perform was unbelievable.
The reason why I asked this, because I love the fact that you've won the European titles, you played for England, but I love the fact that your mum's main story, when anyone asks about you, is Gabrielle played at his wedding.
Yeah. Oh, she loves it. So that was like, because I remember Mother's Day, we used to have an Asda up the road, and I don't know, I think the CDs back then were what, 10 quid or something or whatever. And I'd saved up what I'd asked me dad for some money to get me mum a Mother's Day present. And she used to love Gabrielle, so I remember going to Asda. I don't know why I remember this, and bringing that's what I got her. I got the Gabrielle's CD for her for Mother's Day. And that was like a full circle moment again with, to be in this position, to get Gabrielle, have all our family together, getting married, in the castle was phenomenal.
So 2 children?
7 and 5, yeah, boy and girl. Yeah, crazy. But
people say game
crazy.
changer, but you don't really appreciate it until it happens, does it?
Yeah, I think until you've got kids, you can never understand. I think unless you've got kids, but what they bring, and we're just talking about it of, you can have the worst day, you come home to your kids, everything's forgot about, everything changes, and yeah, the 2 chalk and cheese ones. My little daughter who's 5, she's the boss of the house, she's the one that calls all the shots, and even with me, like, my little boy can do things and I'm like, no, you're not having this, but if she comes up to me and gives me that little look, I'm like, yeah, daddy's girl, I can't say no.
Which one's your favourite?
I can't say that.
I say,
I'll tell you off camera.
I say openly that all of the older ones are my favourite.
Really?
Yeah, always time.
Oh no, I can't. I don't think me missus will kill me, never mind the kids.
For Kate, if you are watching, that is of course a joke.
Yeah.
Kind of. We will talk about Stoke City in a moment. There's one thing I want to talk to you about your time at West Ham. It must have been very difficult when you realised that this is coming to an end, when you signed that contract and you knew that it was going to be, that was it. One of the highlights undoubtedly would have been the European success.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was such again, our journey at West Ham was up, down, for years. And you can mostly look back and say that COVID period was the time we all come together, because when COVID got called upon and the league shut down, we were in a relegation battle. I think there was 12 games to go, I think, if I remember right. So everyone was like, right, what happens now? The season gets short, who gets relegated, all this stuff, because we were in the bottom 3, I believe. And Moyes was adamant. This way Moyes was brilliant. He was adamant, no matter what. As soon as this season starts back up again, we're ready. And no one else is going to be ready like us. And I can't remember who we played first few games. And anyway, the 12 games passed, we'd stayed up with a couple of games to go. We'd done really well. And we come back, start of the season, no fans in the stadium, all that stuff. We kicked on, got into Europe, and it was just like, I don't know, we kind of had this togetherness of, again, I don't know if it stemmed from, the COVID period and then all coming back together and whatnot. And we just really, really started strong, and we just strength to strength. We finished 6th that year, got into Europe, and we had that crazy run in Europe. And again, it was kind of a tough period for me, because I got sent off in the quarter-final, which I didn't think it was, still don't think it was, and then I got sent off in the semi-final. We were losing 2-1 from the first leg, and it was such a hard thing to come back from. It was the first real low I'd had in football, and I thought to myself, it wasn't so much about me. I felt like I'd let everyone down, my teammates included. We fought so hard to get there, and obviously the fans have been waiting so long to compete in Europe, and it was a semi-final. And then second year, we done it again. We got into 7th, which was the Europa Conference League. And yeah, man, went on to win it. And that journey was we just had a special group of players. That's the best way I can put it, of togetherness, but not just the players, the backroom staff, the training ground staff. I genuinely can't speak any highly of them, and I'll fight for them till the end of their time at the club or my time at the club. Everyone thinks, from the outside looking in sometimes, it's just the 11 players that's competing on the pitch, or the 14 players that, the other 3 that come on, or whatever it is. There's so much more that goes into it. And I think every member of staff at every club plays a part and is accountable for everything that happens to that club. And that year, the people behind the scenes that, that don't get the credit, that have been at the club, for years, long before me, long before any players that are there and will be there long after. It's such a vital part, the staff, and they were all connected. And we went on to win it, and luckily enough, everyone was at the final in Prague, and they managed to take a family member or whatever, and everything got sorted for them. It was such a good day.
All the chat about West Ham has just been a massive ruse, because I just want to ask you one question, which is, did you get to meet Danny Dyer?
Yeah, so Jared got married in the summer. I've met Danny years before that, before Jared was even at the club.
So for reference, Jared Bowen, the West Ham striker, is married to Danny Dyer's daughter.
Which is Danny Dyer.
Yes.
Yeah. But no, even, me missus Jess is really close to Danny. She's a lovely lady, and obviously Jazz is a top lad as well. But going back to Danny, the dad, I'd met him years ago at West Ham. He's such a big character, and some of the films he's been in over the years, I fully enjoyed him. And as I say, Jared got married in the summer, and we were there, and his speech was something else.
Did you go on the stag do?
No, I didn't go on a stag do. No, I think he went to Ibiza. I think he was with all his mates back home. Yeah.
So what was Danny Dyer Senior's father of bride speech like? Was it good?
Yeah, without going into too much detail, it was it was such a good laugh. Let's just put it at that.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was good.
I literally just thought about that. I was just that would be an amazing part of the bride
really
speech. Good. We will talk about Stoke City. There's a couple of things I want to talk to you about just before we move on to that, which is, since you've left West Ham, because you've been there for such a long time, you're there for pretty much a third of your life. Have you tried not to keep in touch with people? Because I imagine it's quite hard. Because
it's really hard.
And I don't mean like anything bad by that.
No, it's. I understand what the question is. You're going to ask is, because I was there and I built a strong relationship with everyone, and going back to the behind the scenes staff. I got on with everyone, won't have a bad word to say about any of them, and created so many memories and, friends for life, you could call it. And I truly believe that, I mean that. And no, look, I still speak to a lot of them now, but, football moves on quick, and, they've got their own life, they've got their club to run, and, I won't see them day to daily like I did, and, have them chats, but, at some point I'll be going back this season to watch them, and it'll be like I've never left, in terms of the relationships I've got with the club, with the people there, and but football moves on.
The reason why I say that is because there were people watching and listening to this that have worked at a place for a long time, and when you leave and you go back in, it's a bit of a strange one, so you can be a bit like, I'm just going to try and keep away from it for a little bit.
No, it is, and that's what I mean. It's kind of like going back to it, football does move on, and when new players come in, and it keeps going, but these are the people that make this club, tick. The players will come in for a short period of time, and they're renting that shirt number for the 4 or 5 year contract there. But the players behind the scene, the people behind the scene who are there, who've been there for 20, 30 years, the kit men, and all the other people that have been there for years, like at most clubs, they're going to be there. They're going to be there when the players have left, before, after, whatever. So they're a vital part to any team.
Big golfer?
I wouldn't say big, but I do like a game of golf, but I think it was just getting the time. As I say, when we were talking about the European stuff, the last 3 or 4 years, we didn't really get that much time, to play, and but we managed to play in Spain when I arrived, so I played with a few of the boys, and it was a good knock.
I'm sure you already know this, but just briefly, can I give you a little bit of a warning? Apparently, just be careful with Victor Johansson, because apparently he's a bit of a bandit. He's meant to be.
Yeah, well, I watched him play. I played against him. Played with him. And he was unbelievable. Which, surprisingly, I was thinking, I don't know, who's going to be what here, and he was good.
What I'm saying to you is, just in case you hadn't played with him, don't put any sneaky.
Really?
10
no,
or
I've only played with him, so I played with him. He was part of my team, so he can't.
Just be careful.
He can't give me any cheating now. Do you know what I mean? He can't get that in.
So you're at Stoke for a year. You've signed for an initial year. I would never ask this to a player that plays your position, but because I spent time watching every single goal that you scored for West Ham, because there are a lot of compilations on the internet. Have you set yourself a target?
I don't
Which
really...
is not normally a question you ask to someone who plays your position.
No. I wouldn't say, a target for goals or assists or, anything like that. Again, the most important thing, and people might say, it's a bit cliche, whatever, but, I would take no goals and no assists if we had a successful season. I.e., for me, success is getting in the playoffs, and competing. Do I want that? No, of course I want to get goals and assists, and but the main thing is the team comes first, and it won't be until that 46 games over, when I've got time to sit back and reflect on the season and look back and go, right, I've played so many games, or and we finished inside the top 6 or whatever that is, and that's where I want to be come the end of the season.
You played at an elite level for such a long time. How do you think you're going to adjust to Championship?
I don't think football changes in the terms of football's football, and of course the opposition sometimes in the Premier League you could say is better, and you're coming up against world class players. Say Mo Salah, for example, who's an incredible player, incredible athlete. But look, there's still top players in the Championship, and there's top teams. So yeah, I think we're looking good. I've only been here 4 weeks, but I get a good feel. I get a good feel for the group. The manager, the coaches we've got. I just think we're on for a good season.
How impressed have you been with Mark Robins?
He's been really good. Again, I said to you when I first, was joining the club, and behind the scenes, the conversations I had with him was incredible, and he seems, we're talking of Mick McCarthy. I don't want to put him in anyone else's kind of brand. He's his own man in his own right, and he's been really successful as a player and as a manager. And yeah, going back to it, it was the conversation I had. I just knew it was right, and he's fantastic to work with.
If we had this conversation in 10 years' time, what do you think you'd be doing?
What, in 10 years' time?
Do you think you stay in football?
Yeah, I'd like to think I would, be in football for sure. What that is, I don't know. But football is all I've ever known, but never known I might be a taxi driver.
It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you.
Honest pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.